Hello and welcome to the first video in a series documenting the journey towards publishing Hegemon, which is an original science fiction tabletop role-playing game. Hegemon is a game all about power. Essentially, the players assume roles as these elite agents that work for a massive galactic empire called the Cyberian Tetrarchy. As agents, you are sent to different planets within this universe called the Promethean Arm, and specifically the Cauldron sector. You're sent to these different planets that are essentially in contest or rival the Cyberian Tetrarchy for dominance. And your mission is to essentially destabilize the hegemonies that are present on these planets so that your empire can step in and conquer them. The ways in which this is accomplished are manifold. Essentially, your mission is to cause a planet or a government or regime to become unstable. This often involves subterfuge, confusion, military power, and other sort of guile and cunning that players will have to invent. This game has been in development on and off for about 5 or 6 years. We started, my brother and I, Sam, back in 2019, developing this game based off an idea he had for it. Sam has since passed as of this year, and we had been tinkering with the game, like I said, for about 5 years, and had gone from alpha versions all the way up to 1.9 in our development stage. So this sort of vlog style series is just going to essentially be discussing where the game is at and where we're sort of developing it in terms of what Sam would have wanted the game to be before he passed away. Currently, Hegemon, like I said, is in 1.9 edition, where we've added on top of sort of the basic character creation, combat mechanics, resolution tests, basic foundation, the game works, the game runs. We had added vehicles into it, as well as some talents, bionics, weapon generations, and a thing called the campaign web generator. And this is sort of a GM toolkit. So that's where it's at currently. We have essentially a very functional game with sort of a bare bones, we call it a toolkit for players and game masters and to actually run the game. The journey towards first edition, or an official publishing release of the game, whether that's through Kickstarter or self-publishing, probably the latter. That's sort of the way I've done most of my games so far, and seems to work fine. But the road to publishing is essentially having artwork commissioned, which is already underway, adding in sort of some more robust lore to the universe, which my brother has written hundreds of pages that I've gone through and edited, expanding upon the combat mechanics and vehicle rules, and essentially just tying it all together with a layout through InDesign. Like I said, this was a game that originally was co-founded or co-imagined by my brother Sam and I. And it's an original setting in many ways. It's one of those games that is a little bit more open toolkit or open sandbox, just in the way that it is scaled. This is a massive universe with lots of different species, hegemonies, empires that are both waxing and waning. Lots of intrigue, lots of wars going on, lots of incursions, and at the core of it, you are sort of trying to, as an agent, centralize this power through the Cyberian Tetrarchy by conquering these other worlds in the name of your empire. Now, the core mechanic of Hegemon is essentially a d6 dice pool, where it's essentially using your attributes, which have a certain amount of d6 in them as essentially the rank, and you're trying to roll over target numbers or difficulty numbers. So this is very much in the style of, if you remember, West End Games dice pools or the d6 system. There are things called talents that, you know, are kind of like skills in that they influence your rolls or give you special abilities. But you also have things like bionics and cybernetic implants that also further sort of augment your ability to operate effectively as an agent. In addition to that, there are 8 different classes, all which have sort of a unique tool set towards accomplishing the ends of the agents. Combat is based on a hex grid system, and it's basically an action point economy where you can do multiple different actions, but you know, you have to all have it add up to your action point limit, which is generally around 3, but depending on what you want to do, it can be more or less. Weapons are very deadly in this game, and weapons are all randomly generated, so there is quite a bit of swing to it in terms of design-wise, but we think it's, you know, we always talked about it being sort of representative of the swinginess of combat. I mean, there shouldn't be a, you know, a set outcome. There should always be a chance for the underdog to take the fight, essentially. Now, I mentioned briefly the scale of this game. Essentially, you have a whole universe to explore, and there are many different power structures within that. So, working for this galactic empire, you may be sent to many different planets in terms of main planets, you know, homeworlds, or far-flung backwater planets that are trying to be colonized, which you must undermine. So, in terms of the scale of the game, you are playing an agent, but you do have quite a bit of power as an agent in terms of your influence and your ability to sort of wage this war of attrition, or this war of destabilization against these planets you're trying to conquer. So, for example, there is a destabilization chart, or a destabilizing chart, that the game master, or we call them hedge master in this game, can roll upon if you've struck a serious blow to a planet or a power structure's, you know, sort of main artery. Now, what this does is, it's essentially, you roll on this chart to see the outcomes of your actions. and on a grand scale. So you might be plotting the assassination of a chancellor on this planet, and having done so, you roll to see which sector is influenced by this action. Further, the outcomes of this destabilizing event will gain you some heat, and it may also gain you some influence. Each agent has a influence score which can be used to affect the planet. It's sort of it's a abstraction of sort of your influence, your building influence on the planet as you're sort of undermining it through subterfuge and possibly military action. But the more influence you have, the more heat you have, the more unwanted attention, should you say. So it's sort of this balance of you're becoming more influential, you're overthrowing these sectors of this planet, but you're also gaining a lot of enemies through it. And the final thing to say about the scale of Hegemon is that it's essentially going to be mapped out. The Game Master rolls for all the different planetary features of the game, its history, its environment, what makes it unique, who controls it, what's its culture, and what sort of atmosphere does this planet come from? Is it a chaotic planet that's recently been colonized, or is it, on the cusp of revolution? Has it been hit by natural disasters? And finally, the Game Master is going to map the different power structures that exist in this planet. So when you're investigating this planet to undermine it, the power structure are already mapped out so that as you uncover this planet's power structure, it's almost like a web. And so there's a thing called the web generator in this game that helps the Game Master set which essentially dominoes there are in each of these power structures, that if one were to fall, what does that influence? And, what is the linchpin for this planet falling apart and becoming prey to the Cyberian Tetrarchy? So, in summary, this video series will essentially document the progress of Hegemon as it goes through sort of the final checklist of everything it needs in our vision to become a first edition physical book that we hopefully can get in your hands sooner rather than later. I hope to share sort of the artwork of Hegemon as it's being produced. I've already commissioned it, like I've said. I hope to share more about the mechanics, go into the character classes for each agent. Definitely going to want to try to tackle combat as well and explain the system, as well as just the dice pool resolution system, and any other updates that come my way. And like I said, this is sort of the vlog documenting the journey to get this game published. In my brother's honor, I want to do this for his memory, and it's really his concept. I really only helped out with the mechanics for the role-playing game, and edited all of his writings, his conceptual writings, his lore, his all of his awesome ideas about what kind of world this is and what kind of universe this is. So it's something I feel like I want to do and have to do to honor Sam. So thank you for listening, and I hope this is the first of many in this series as Hegemon moves towards its first edition. Thanks very much.